because if someone doesn't come after a period of time, then I do like to verify and make sure the flight attendant is able to call and figure out if someone is still coming, because I have rarely had that occasion.
Oh, okay. All right. I have just a few more questions. I'm not sure how much time you have.
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay, great. Have you, I think we have touched upon this, but if you have any specific incidences or situations where you felt you were being treated unequally because of your vision disability?
Well, yeah, just a couple of times, and I do recall this was specifically in the Indianapolis airport, and this was a number of years ago, so this may be a different deal. That was the only airport I have been to where I got off the plane, met the assistant, and they offered me a wheelchair, which they often do offer, which is, it's fine to offer. And I said, no, thank you. I don't need a wheelchair. And that individual actually said to me, this is a while ago. This is probably like in 2005 or 2006. He told me at that time, I'm sorry, but it's airport policy. I cannot take you unless you're in a wheelchair.
Whoa. Okay.
So I've never heard of that before or since, but I've heard of, well, I shouldn't say that. I haven't had that experience before or since, but I have heard other blind people say that they've had that experience. So that was really unfortunate. And I don't know if it was just an employee who was mistaken or, I don't know. If that happened to me today, I would definitely research the heck out of it, and I would be speaking to the head of, the head of the airport. But, I was much younger. I was very upset about it, but I didn't really know how to appropriately advocate. So that's the only time I had that happen, and that was really, really unfortunate.
So at that time, you just, because you didn't know much and you were young, you just went ahead with it, I believe?
I did. I did argue with him for so long, and then I finally just gave up, and I went to the wheelchair, and I was really mad about it, and I just didn't know what to do. That was the only time that I'd had something like that. But he actually told me it was the policy, which I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he told me.
So generally now, in the more recent times when they offer you wheelchair, is it just you saying no and they understand, or there's a lot of back and forth?
In the more recent years, they basically just, what is it that you need? Do you need a wheelchair or just someone to walk with you? And once they clarify, then that's it. I don't get questioned.
Okay, that's good. Based off your air travel experiences, what do you think is the role of your own communication in just navigating the whole airport environment, dealing with assistants, gate agents, things like that? Are there any specific communication approaches or strategies that work really well for you?
I definitely think it's my responsibility to communicate what I need, because I don't think it's fair to assume that anyone else is going to, be able to read my mind or know what I think is appropriate or helpful. So I think it's my responsibility, since I'm physically able to communicate those needs. I think I need to just be upfront and reasonable. This person is not like my personal assistant. They're doing their job, but they're also doing something to help me. And I think, that respect should certainly go both ways. I need to be very respectful of them. I always try to make sure I have cash with me so I can tip them, which I don't think is required, but I often am asking them to find me a Starbucks or to, I'm asking them for things that I think are above and beyond, so I feel like I need to give them a little compensation for that because I appreciate it. So that's what I find works well, is just communicating clearly. I think on their part, as long as they are respectful and hearing what I'm saying, then we get along just fine, and it works beautifully.
And in situations when things are not going the way you would want them to in terms of assistance or just anything else around your vision disability, are there any communication strategies there that work better?
Well, I definitely think it is important to not get too frustrated or irritated because it's not helpful. And I think like in any situation, if you get really annoyed and you get snippy with somebody, that is not going to lead to a solution. That's not going to be helpful. So I think just maybe trying to restate, like if someone is not listening and they're still trying to, because I've had an experience where I told someone, I don't need to take your arm, I'm just going to walk with you. And then they've tried to take my arm, and so it's easy to get reactive in that moment, but I really just try to assume that this person probably is basically a nice person that maybe just didn't understand for whatever reason, so I try to, I will actually stop walking and let them know, you know what, I appreciate that, but what I really need is just for you to walk with me. So I just try to restate it, and I, very, very rarely have I just had an experience where I was like, oh my gosh, just get me away from this person. Because most people are nice, but, very rare occasion I've just been, kind of like, okay, I need to get to my gate, that's it, see ya, we're done. But normally, I think if you can just restate, people probably just really want to be helpful, and it's hard to get out of their own minds what they think is going to be helpful for you. So I think it's an innocent mistake a lot of times.
So I meant to ask this, but I thought I'll ask towards the end. But when you get down from the airport till you find assistance, how's that experience like, and how do you end up getting assistance?
Now, are you saying like when you get to your final destination?
No, when you get from your home to the airport.
Oh, got it. So usually, it depends a little bit on what time of day it is, because if you're flying during sort of like normal busy times, especially at a lot of airports, you can just do like the curbside check-in, which I find that helpful because I can just either have like an Uber or a Lyft, or like if my husband drops me off, he doesn't have to actually come in. He could just, if there's not time, he could just drop me at the curb and then, help me get connected with somebody doing curbside check-in, and they can sort of take it from there. I have had experiences, though, where it was late at night or really early in the morning and there was no curbside. And at that point, I would just, if I wasn't doing, usually if I'm going to the airport to travel alone, I'm by myself getting there. So a couple times I just, just kind of went into the airport and just bopped around until I found a staff member, because there's a lot of people working there. So I think eventually that's another sign, I think, of some positive training. Like if I'm using a cane and it appears that I may not be quite certain where I'm going, I think it's polite when someone just inquires, like, oh, do you need any assistance? Can I offer you any directions? And that is, I've never had a problem finding somebody to sort of, that way.
Okay. So curbside check-in is definitely helpful to you.
That is, yes, that's really, when possible, I prefer that. That's a nice option.
Okay. So if I were to ask you, based off all your air travel experiences so far, what is the easiest and the hardest aspect of air travel for you as a blind traveler?
That's a good question. I guess the easiest part is really just being on the plane, because I do think that flight attendants, just the flight crews, I don't know if it's just a better training or what, but I feel like, they're also right there. Like once you're on the plane, there's not that many places to go. Right? It's not that hard to navigate. Like you're just in that one little space. So maybe that's part of it. But I feel like, flight crews are, and sometimes I've even met really, really delightful pilots. I mean, like they're always really nice and seem interested in offering assistance, like to everyone, not just as a blind person. Like I don't feel singled out. I feel like they're just trying to be helpful to everyone, which is nice. And then I think the more difficult part is, it's definitely just the whole navigating a large airport. If it's a small airport like Burbank, it's, far less stressful, but a large airport and then security. Security is always a bit stressful. You're putting your things down, you have to take your shoes off, and it's just a lot to sort of keep track of, and not knowing if you're going to have a great assistant or not. I think that is the most challenging, is sort of navigating, especially from that check-in point through security. That's definitely the most challenging for me.
Okay. So if I were to ask you, what are the kinds of things that you could envision making you